So everything continues to be on schedule for the Expedition 204. It is currently about 2 hours prior to departure, and the vehicle is still go. We have all systems are operating. The refrigerator is cold. We're just loading the final items, and then we'll move over to the staging area where we'll put these two vehicles together. One of the major repairs required for this expedition was the lifting of this wall right here. The decals, the left side here, was down about an inch. The wall was sagging and hanging on top of the slide out, making the slide hard to move. In addition, we ground about 1/4 of an inch off the edge of the flange here, and so everything seems to be in the right configuration for today. And so we're more or less configured for Expedition 204 to Restoule Provincial Park. I'm just shuttling the RV over to Walmart to allow us to connect the Jeep, and then when that's finished, then we're heading out. So somebody's nicely parked in my area here, so we'll have to see what else we can do, but we should be able to be okay for a few minutes. Okay. Shut off my thermostat. Was it overloaded? It's still running. Let's see what it does. Just have to let it go through its cycles. Well, here we are at the beginning of Expedition 204. This has been a lot of work. The RV required a number of major repairs. We had to jack up the wall just to my left here about an inch or more, otherwise because it was hanging on the slide. That was an essential repair to save the RV, I guess. It seems to be working. We had to replace the front air conditioner, which had failed, with a new one. And that is getting a shakedown on this run right now. I've got the generator on the back of the RV running, and the air conditioner above here is blowing some nice cool air on me. And the roof air generally works well enough that you can turn off the dash air. That's what I've done right now. We'll see. I also had to fix the hydraulic jack. The left rear jack blew the hose, and so that had to be replaced. And I did a number of improvements as well, little things. So it's been a busy few days getting this done. Now, this is a big trip with all of the sports equipment and gear. I'm towing the Jeep, canoe, bike, hiking stuff, whatever, computers, everything. So it's a lot of packing, and of course for 9 days there's more food, more everything. So anyhow, this trip then is from Keswick to Restoule Provincial Park, which is I would say west-northwest of Trout Creek, about 40 kilometers. It's not quite on Lake Nipissing. But this site is chosen because of the canoeing, hiking, cycling opportunities there that justify a week or so. I was not able to get an electrical site, at least as of now, so I'm going to be boondocking on site 305. So that's and it says partial sun, so we'll see how much the solar is able to pull back from each day, and that will be a question mark. We'll have to see. The vehicle today is fairly heavy. We are only 432 pounds below the maximum of this vehicle, and it's pretty much, if I was to take Nadine with me and her stuff, we would be right on the line pretty much. We were full of water and fuel. When we go to remote country, we generally do that, even if we don't need it for the trip. Today's trip is 90 liters. 302 kilometers, probably take a little less gas than that, and so that boils down to something in the neighborhood of about 65 pounds of gasoline to run this way, and another to come home again. Let's see what else is on here. So we're expecting an economy of 337 today, all in. Which is 8.03 miles per gallon US, 29.6 liters per 100 kilometers, and a costing here of about 31 cents a kilometer. So we'll see what how it plays out. The last time I went with it to my sister, I was right on with the mileage with the predictions. I take into account stoplights, hills, climbing, all the rest of it. And we'll see. Right now, of course, we're just getting started here, and the numbers aren't very encouraging. So I must say, for me, it's always a little disconcerting when you move from the everyday to a big trip like this, to a remote site, and never been to before. I find it a little stressful. Do I have everything? And then I get excited about it. Am I in a hurry? Then I make mistakes or break something. I've been pretty careful today. I'm hoping that I've done it right, and we'll just have to see. So anyhow, I guess that's it for now. I'm just not far from Sutton. I've made a minor route alteration. I'm taking Highway 48 because it's smoother. And the vibrations on the vehicle are always something one must consider when you're driving. Even with the shocks and so on, the RV still does suffer rougher roads badly, and want to, especially with it being an older RV, want to take care of it a little bit. So we try to resist that if we can. And the airspeed is approximately 90 kilometers an hour, so we're running a headwind here about 10 kilometers an hour plus or minus, and the batteries are full. We'll just see our next waypoint is Port Bolster, and we're probably a little bit ahead of time right now, and we got away about an hour and 20 minutes ahead of the intended departure time of 1100 hours. So this would put us into Restoule Park somewhere, I would say, around 2 to 2:30, depending on just how well we get along. At 31, we're 9 minutes fast right now. I like this section of the highway. It makes you think you're farther away from civilization than you really are. So I'm just going to video this. Next waypoint is Cambridge. It's 13 kilometers further. I was 53 kilometers into the trip, and we should have that at 52 minutes additional elapsed time. Yeah, this has a real wilderness feel to it that's kind of nice compared to other roads in this area. So I thought I would just video this. Waypoint 3, I think, at Cambridge on Highway 12. And according to this, we're about 4 minutes early. So it looks like we've lost 5 minutes, but I have a feeling the numbers aren't quite right, and I'm going to have to look back at that because we've been pretty steady here. 3.4 here. We're getting 169 interchange. And we head off now to the village of Washego before we hit Highway 11, which we'll stick with for quite a while. About an hour into the trip so far. So we're approximately 1 hour into Expedition 204. I just turned off of 12 onto 169. Currently we are approximately 16 minutes ahead of schedule. And the vehicle is currently configured with the generator running at the back of the Jeep, which is running the roof air, and I'm just using the vent to give me a little bit of airflow right now, and I'm pretty comfortable in here. It's not that hot outside. My thermometers are saying 23 degrees. I would imagine it might be a little warmer than that, but it's still fairly humid. So far, the temperatures, the vehicle's running at 209 on the maximum coolant, 206 on cylinder head, 163 on transmission, and so I think that's those are pretty reasonable numbers. All the electrical and the refrigerator is coming down. It was, of course, up around 17 or 15 when we loaded it this morning. It's at 12 right now, running on electric. And of course that thermometer's at the top of the fridge, so probably the rest of it is doing a little better. The freezer certainly was cold. We'll check that later on, but that on the surface is was a positive. The fuel mileage is 3.43, which is 0.06 better than expected, and we'll see how it rolls out, but certainly so far we're very encouraged by that. And the next stop on the list here is Washego, and we expect to be there at 1:38 mission elapsed time. And when based on how we've been getting along, I'll probably do a little better than that. So haven't seen any wildlife yet on the way so far, but we'll see what happens. But it's been a nice drive. The roads are dry. It's partly cloudy. And just driving through the countryside. So we'll pick it up later after the second hour. Goes waypoint 5, Washego, hitting Highway 11. It'll take a little bit of gas to get this thing going up to speed here. We're going to have to do the four ways. Don't have a lot of acceleration here on this one. Just have to, I used my four ways until I'm within 20 kilometers of the max. Here. We'll So waypoint 6. Yes, Gravenhurst 1 hour 52, and so we're approximately 20 minutes ahead of schedule right now. We were probably didn't do anything on that run because I drove a little slower because the roads are so rough. We're driving in the right lane, which is the truck lane, and that makes it rougher because the damage is much greater. But I'm not fast enough to drive on the other side, so it's good goes. So we had a first little hitch on the way up. We got a code 4 on the tow. This means that the supplemental breaking system in the Jeep is seeing a low voltage. My suspicion is that the plug had come a bit away from the connection in the Jeep and was therefore not charging the battery in the Blue Ox Patriot SBS as appropriate. So what I've done is I pulled off at a gas station and I checked it and reset it and reset the plug, and right now it seems to be working, so we'll assume that that is a reasonable diagnosis there. So we're at Bracebridge. The next crossover will be the Highway 60 interchange at Huntsville. And we're due there at 2:33 MET, which is 43 minutes from now. And we'll see, I'm sorry, is that right? 33 minutes from now, pardon me. The distance, I would say, to that is probably in the neighborhood of 40 kilometers. So we'll be, we might be a little bit early, but with the stop I had there is probably 10 minutes. We're going to be getting closer to the timeline. Other than that, the generator has been running fine. The roof air, where my hand is still blowing cool air. When I went back into the back of the RV to use the washroom, it was very nice back there instead of being quite warm as it often is on a trip like this due to the exhaust and the heat in the floor. So right now I'm fairly happy with how we're getting along, and I would say right now, based on the fuel gauge, we're running at around maybe not quite the 5/6, maybe just a titch above it. And we were just a little past full when we started, but it didn't take too long for that to move. So if I figure 225 liters, maybe 230 liters in the tank, and now we're down to 185. That's 50 liters, and we've gone, 122. It's probably a little heavy. The max device says 3.5 kilometers per liter. If that's true, and you've gone 120K, or maybe, well, probably a little more than that, probably 130. According to this, we've gone about 135, as I started that late. And if it's 3.5, then we're probably looking at about 40 or even 35, 40 liters of gas. So it's not too far out of mark, and that'll become more precise as we burn more gas and have a bigger measurement baseline. It's hard to know exactly what's in the tank when you are over when you're past the full mark, so that's difficult. But of course the top in this tank is so big, and because the tank is so long, that just even slight changes to the level of the tank can make quite a difference in how much fuel you can put on board. But nevertheless, we're not quite to Huntsville yet, probably halfway between Huntsville and Bracebridge, and aside from that one issue, we're getting along fairly well. So we'll make this the report for 2 hours. And the only thing that I noticed with the Jeep today is that when we're climbing hills, you do notice the weight, the 4,000 odd pounds of the Jeep being pulled up the hill by the RV. That does, you do feel the difference there. But main straight road and downhill, well, you wouldn't even know it was there. It's amazing how well it works. So, and the engine parameters are approximately the same. So we'll get back to you in an hour. So this is Burke's Falls, the waypoint number 8. The next waypoint will be Trout Creek, 42 kilometers down the road. So it's about 3 hours, 2 hours 55 into things right now, and I'm about 23 kilometers from the turn at Trout Creek onto the secondary roads. I think it's Highway 522, and then it's about 50 kilometers of driving on those roads to get to the park proper. And I've just been on 11 getting along here. I had my lunch, and knock on wood, up to now, there hasn't been any further issues with the vehicle. Things are operating as advertised. Keep an eye on temperatures and pressures and sounds and noises and mirrors and everything. It's a busy little kitchen here to make sure that things are working as I want them to. Timing wise, we're approximately 20 minutes ahead of the run. I hear a bit of creaking in the post beside me here. That's the brace for the roof, but it seems to be fine. Certainly before we do anything with the slide at the campsite, we'll be having a look at that, making sure that the slide has not moved materially from where we were this morning, so that we have some confidence that the bracing that I put in is going to stay in place. The Highway 11 is largely in good shape, and even the parts like the one I'm on right now that's a little bit cracked and worn, it seems, it's not too rough, to be fair, which is nice for the RV. And we just have these ups and downs as we go along. And but other than that, I think it's going pretty well. And so we're just going to keep going, and the next report will be hopefully at Restoule Provincial Park. Thanks for coming along for the ride. So this is our waypoint here, and we're 20 minutes hot. That's early. Heading towards Port Loring. We won't get that far with the RV, we expect. I'd rather maybe with the bicycle, see what happens with the weather and how we feel.
527. I'm going to the right. Oh, okay, I see some kind of a movie thing. That's fine. The way they say. That's right, because you have to go up and then onto the highway because the 522 doesn't have an interchange. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to look here at this corner. Notice the traffic really reducing as we get further north too. There's quite a difference. This is 522 on the way to 524. This is the landscape we've been driving through for the last little while. So see what we have. So we're coming up on the turn onto 524. Another couple of kilometers here. Fairly short run of 5K to 534, and then we take that into the park through the village of Restoule and so on. So we'll try and show a little bit of that on the drive cam as well. That's all that's going on. We need to start to fix all of that. So here is 524. signage for Restoule is excellent. And just as we thought, narrow bridge maximum to 3.7 meters. We are narrower than that, so that's not an issue for us. So we'll be going through the town of Restoule before we go into the park proper, so that we'll see here what we've got with the road. But certainly 522 is an excellent road. Very pleased with that. My suspicion is we go further away from it, the roads will get rougher, but we'll have to see. This is 534, I guess, here now. So this is not Restoule Village. This is Crossroads. That's it. The only preference right now is the generator. Just have to sort that out. That's no big deal. At least in the sense of what's going on. Maybe a big deal to figure it out. No, it's not. That's probably why they didn't do it, because it got all bagged up. takes the trailer line a little bit. Okay, let's find a place to pull over here. Yeah, I see. It's the only one with a big rig. Done what we've done. If it wrecks it, because it's softer, I don't know. Maybe drill out the sides. I don't know. That's enough to make a difference or not. shed. She's down a fair bit, that's no joke, but we'll have to see when the back wheels get in there. I don't know. But we need the solar too, so it's not just a matter of preference. works that way, but hopefully we'll have our jacks and things will work properly.
This is Restoule Lake. Just at the south end of the campground. And there's a couple of swimming areas here. You'll see the boundaries. We're just in the middle of one there. It's about 20 C today. A bit of a breeze from the southwest. This is Stormy Lake. I'm zoomed in a little bit here on the 75mm lens. You can see the fire tower on top of the hill there. Trail goes to that. I'll be doing that later theoretically. And hope to canoe here tomorrow. Probably more to the left or the west. I'll just move over here now. There's a very long, narrow portion that extends well to the west that I propose to explore tomorrow. My guess is it might go in where that cottage happens to be there or something like that. There's also an opening about there somewhere to an upper lake. So there's lots to do here, and we'll see. Just to the left of this white pine is the river that comes from the south part, marries up with Restoule Lake. So lots to do here. So it's day 2 of the Restoule trip. So I've got the bike off and locked up. I found that this jack went a bit into the mud, and also the vehicle was still a little too low at the front. So I dropped the jacks onto the levelers and added a couple of pieces of wood to each at least. It's quite significant. And jacked it again. And we're more level. I put an extra piece of wood on this side, so when the front jacks are pushed up, they'll equalize. So that really worked. The hot water heater had a stench in it, so I dumped it, and hopefully the new load in there will be fine. The generator ran out of gas yesterday, which is why the air conditioning quit, so everything on that standpoint seems to be working just fine. So those are the main things I worked at this morning. And I forgot my toothbrush, so I have to buy one, I guess. But other than that, that's about all the excitement. I'm running right now at about a deficit of about 60 amp hours. I'll use another 15 for the refrigerator and parasitic current today, so 75. So that's what I'm looking at from the sun. And it's kind of cloudy here today, so we'll have to see just what we get out of this. But that's why we're here. So I'm on top of the fire tower trail. So it's I don't know, maybe 50 meters above the lake. It's not that high. It's high enough though, it's nice. And you can see the lake, Stormy Lake, and that point there, that narrowing, that's where I'm headed with the canoe tomorrow, theoretically. It's supposed to be a nice day. And I'll come out of this inlet here right at the left from down below. And then if I have the zip, I want to check some of this out too, see what happens. It's maybe 22 or 23, 24 out here. It's quite humid though, so you're really sweating, but thankfully it's not 35, so wouldn't be able to do this if it was that warm. So a throwback to an older age is this fire tower. Notice the ladder has been disconnected by government order so that people wouldn't climb it. These towers were built to have a ranger sit at the top of them and watch for smoke. And then they would use sightings, and 2 towers sighted the fire from different places. They could triangulate and tell people where it was. This is replaced probably by 1960 by air patrols, and much later by satellite and all the rest of it. But they've left some of these standing for historical reasons, which is wonderful. The ranger would live in a cabin, possibly not too far from here. I suspect it's gone now, and it was a lonely life, kind of like a lighthouse keeper, same kind of remote job. So today we're paddling from the canoe put in near where I camp at Restoule Provincial Park, and we're going to go around the point, up the river, and out to the dam along that narrow business to the west of Stormy Lake, and we'll go back from there. It's a beautiful warm day. Looking forward to this. So I've just got to the point here on Restoule Lake. I just rounded it, and so I'm headed over here, up there to the river, and the weather so far as is advertised, it's nice and warm, but the wind is not a problem, and it's very... So anyhow, it's always nice to have a day in the canoe in the wilderness. And we'll keep going to the portage now. So ahead here is a narrowing and a rapid, and so this brown region about there is where I take it out, and I got a probably 500 or 600 meter portage, but it's a lawn, it's through parkland, it's very easy. So just got to drain my jugs and strap her up for that walk, and then that's the only portage that I know of today. We get up onto Stormy, we'll go a bit more river paddling, and then onto Stormy, and then off to the left, and we'll see what happens. Probably have lunch at an unoccupied campground for a little while, and that will be probably in an hour or so, something like that. Just a beautiful day. Let's just do a little pan here. So I've just turned up into the river. You can see I've come from that direction there. Very nice. This is the other end of the portage, probably 450 to 500 meters. Across the river is the river trail. Over here and up the hill is the fire tower trail, which I did yesterday. Behind me is the point trail, Angel Point or something, I forget. So this is the northern put in here, and we're going to paddle that way around the corner to Stormy Lake, and from there on. So this is Stormy Lake, and look at the calmness of the water here today. This is just spectacular canoeing conditions. So fortunate. Just in behind there is the fire tower. We'll see that later. I just thought I'd show the lake to you. So the elephant and the slot is up in there somewhere, and then where I'm heading first is to the left here around those trees to that very narrow river thing. And I came from here, which is the river that goes back through into Restoule Lake. What a day. So when you get to the west end of Stormy Lake on this bay, you get to the dam, and apparently this is what keeps Stormy Lake at its particular level. So I'm hoping that center piece there looks like it's been accessible, and so I'm going to have lunch. So that's the deal. And I came from over there. So that's the very narrow, very nice paddling area in here. I must say it's really quite pretty. So this is the fire tower and rock face that this park is known for. And so just paddling. I'm about 800 meters from it right now. I'm going to say it's about 100 meters high. So we'll just get a little closer and see what we got.
She's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift and hope that she'll take it into her side. La 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 la.
So today is cycling day. We had a lot of rain yesterday. It's really humid today. So what I've done is reconfigure the Jeep to carry the bike. I'm going to carry it to the boat launch. So the bike is still covered right now, but we'll fix that some momentarily. So if we go around my site here, you see that the generator has been removed from the back of the RV, or sorry, of the Jeep, and the pan as well, and that's all tied to a tree. These items will go in the RV, and the Jeep is ready for action. So far I haven't had to drain my gray tanks, and when I get back we'll have to charge the batteries, but hopefully the solar will get a little bit today. We'll see what happens. So another 15 minutes we should be ready to go. Here are day 6 of the Restoule trip. I'm here at the government boat dock in Restoule, or Restoule Village, and I'm starting my bike trip today here to Powassan, if things work out. About 35, 36 or so kilometers one way, and it's pretty warm. But it's beautiful weather, so hopefully we'll have a good day and take some nice pictures. So I'm 26 kilometers or whatever it is now into this ride. I'm in the village of Christian Valley, I guess is what this is called here, and just needed to get off the seat for a few minutes So I'll just do a little pan. You can see it's kind of a flat and kind of marshy area. There's a few farms here. I imagine I have to climb a fairly decent hill after this, and according to the information, I'm about 10 kilometers from Powassan, so that's where we're headed anyway, to get some groceries and some oil for my front wheel if possible, and then we'll settle down, eat something, and turn around and do it all over again. So this is the situation. I'm about a third of the way through my day right now if nothing goes wrong. Yeah, we'll see you later. So I've made it back, probably 7 hours. Beautiful weather today, but the road is, for a bicycle, a lot more hilly than I thought was going to be when I drove. And at the same time, on the way back, I had a 20 to 25 kilometer headwind almost the entire way, which made the way back kind of long, but I made it. And very satisfying that way, but I didn't get a chance to take much video or whatever on the way back. I was getting some cramps, but they didn't persist, and the Gatorade helped. So another good day. Hello again. Well, it's July 18, 2020. And this is day 7 of my Restoule retreat, and I'm on Stormy Lake again. This time I took the canoe to the boat launch to save for 4 or so kilometers of paddling, and I'm looking into the upper bays of Stormy Lake, and then hopefully going up into Clear Lake and look around there before I come back today. It's a warm day and it's fairly humid, but sure beats winter. See you later. So I'm in this long thin bay on the southern side of Clear Lake, and I'm gone to the end of it, so you can see that's kind of the end of it. And I came from over there, so now we're going to go back and then to the left into the bigger bay and track around before we head back down. So it's we've lost a bit of the sun now. Sort of high cloud, a bit muggy, but it's not as hot, so that's always good. Nice day here on Clear Lake. So I'm at the end of Clear Lake, the west end, and it'll be out of focus a little bit here, but we'll do it again in a minute. That's the end of it there, and very nice day here. And that's where I came from and where I'm going now. It's very nice out here. And these bays are small enough that the water doesn't get too rough, so far anyway. So this is the end here, right into that bay there. So you can hear the generator in the background. This is day 8 of Expedition 204. I just noticed this. You can see the delamination here due to the intrusion over the years. This is affecting the base of the awning. So if I can show you, it's loose. Like you can see here, it's pulling away from the wall. Now these are lag bolts and there's spacing behind. So I think the answer to this will be to put out the awning, detach it, and then take the lag bolts out, drill through and put a bolt in with a plate and a washer and grab what's there. And I think that should do that for what we need it for anyway. The back one is fine. And so far, everything seems to have stayed put with the vehicle. The generator's just loafing right now at about 360 watts, just charging the batteries. I was running the air conditioner. If we look up there, there's still a fair amount of space. You can also see here down the side, there's no deflection. It doesn't seem to be too much. So on the surface, I feel pretty good about it. Let's let it focus here. Here we go. And I haven't had to use the auxiliary gray water tank yet. Hopefully not, but so far it's not leaking. So that's been good. And I put the awning in because it's dry right now, so that's great. I ran the AC for about an hour just to knock the humidity out inside the RV. It's just been really hard to sleep last night, so we'll see how long it holds that.
We have some pretty precarious downhills coming up here. This is it's thankfully paved. There's a couple of, there's a really big one coming up and it's got a steep turn at the bottom and the turn gets tighter. So that's one where we have to be very careful going down the hill or we'd be in trouble. The procedure is to start at the top of the hill with the speed you want, which in this case is about 30. And I put it in second gear and I use the brakes as well. And we just get down it as best we can. like we got into town. You can see some of those hills are pretty sketchy. If you were a cowboy on some of those, you could find yourself in some real trouble, especially with all this weight that we have on this vehicle and situation.
Well, hello everyone. So I'm coming home from Expedition 204, the trip to Restoule Provincial Park. This is my 9th day. Day 1, of course, primarily was getting there. And then 7 days of exploring, which turned into 4 days of exploring and 3 days of not exploring. Well, that was okay. and then today. I think the thing for me on this trip was that without having the power and not having the solar either, really, because of the shaded situation, it's tough because the if it's humid, the RV is fairly hard to sleep. I tried different schemes, and I think last night's worked a little better. I used the fantastic fan. I noticed outside was slightly cooler. I opened the windows in the bedroom only and drew the air up through the fantastic fan. That created a little bit of a breeze, and that seemed to be a bit helpful. But regardless, when it's a little bit too high humidity, your bed clothing gets damp and so on, and you really don't fix that very easily. The drive into that park is high adventure. Those hills are really steep. Thankfully it's paved, but with an RV tow and a Jeep, it's a little scary. You can do it, but you got to take your time. The one thing that I'm going to certainly write to Ontario Parks about that is just beyond my understanding. Now maybe these things were put in a long time ago, but we have these sites, these campgrounds now, these parks with, 200 or 300 sites in them at least. And we have the dump station with one hole and one water fill. With what they charge for camping and stuff, I don't know. It's just the whole logic of that escapes me. They fixed it at Emily Park. They got a wonderful new system there. And because you have to think about it, folks. I mean, the water comes out of the tap at, I don't know, maybe it takes a minute for a liter. No, that wouldn't take that long. Let's say 10 liters a minute, which is okay. But if you have an RV, it has 250 liter capacity, it's a half an hour. And if it's only one tap, everybody's waiting. And you could take it home and fill it there, and I guess so, but you're paying for this. So, I don't know, I'd like to see that improve. I mean, commercial camping, if you have the stuff at your site, it doesn't matter, obviously, right? Because you've already done it. So that's the way to do that. Now, I'm not saying Ontario Parks is to dig up its campgrounds, but to have a dump station where you have 3 or 4 fills and drains at the same time. I mean, Algonquin Park's got to be one of the worst because you have 1,600 campsites, I think, along the Highway 60 corridor, and you have to go up this really steep 1-lane road, with an RV or a fifth wheel or whatever, and then there's tight turns up there, and then there's 2 holes, but still, I mean, my goodness, for the amount of camping that goes on there, it basically people have to go home. I mean, you'd have to wait all day. And I think that's unreasonable. So I really hope to see that get changed somehow as they go along. They certainly built a lot of nice new comfort stations, and everybody appreciates that, and I get that. But back to my trip. So I had 2 really nice canoeing days, a cycling day and like a hiking day and a half. I had 2 days of pretty significant rain. I took a day off. I went up to North Bay, which was nice too. And so I don't know.
I think the thing for me was the RV had a lot of repairs, and anytime you have concerns, you have to kind of rebuild your confidence. So like especially this brace I put in and the slide catching and so on, and you know, I was all getting repaired like on the Thursday, Friday, when I left on the Sunday. You know, you don't really know if when you try to put the slide in 8 or 9 days later whether it's going to go or not, you know, because of but thankfully it worked. It seemed to anyway. I think that that's a little bit unsettling, but I mean, I like to use the computer. I like to do videos and watch things when it's raining and so forth. And the other thing too, I think, is that I spent, my wife Nadine and I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on this RV and its repairs and upgrades and so on. So I don't go to a campground to sit in the dark. You know, at least not for days. I mean, I could see one night if there's a special circumstance or something like that. That's just a story to tell. But so I don't think I would do it again. The one thing I would consider is an open site, let's say at Balsam or something, in September or October when it's not as hot, and you might actually be grateful for the sun on the RV, and you get all the solar, so you have lots of electricity for reasonable things, and it doesn't get so cold at night that you really need the furnace all that much. So I think you could probably cheat there. The reality, folks, with RVs is that if you're on the either side of the extreme, and this is of course, like if you go camping in a tent or whatever, in backcountry camping, it's like someone said once, 20% of the time it's just beautiful, and which is what gets you out there, and 80% of the time it's one extreme or the other. It's either too hot or too cold, or too wet or too dry, or whatever. And part of why we use RVs is to run that off, is to say, okay, well, we're going to control our environment, at least while we're eating and sleeping. And I must tell you, for me, I think this is really a nice combination. You go the day, whatever that looks like, in the wilderness, exploring or doing some activity, and then come back to the RV and have a shower and have, you know, nice food prepared. You have a refrigerator, you can have cold drinks and things like that, and then you sleep in a climate controlled type environment. I think that's the combination for me. I don't mind being uncomfortable during the exploration phase. I understand, you know, that's part of the challenge of going to some of these remote places. So I think that I would certainly, going forward, so backing up, I think the challenge is to recognize that whether we're warming the RV, heating it, or we are cooling it, it takes a fair amount of electricity and energy. In the case of the furnace, you're using the propane, but you're using, of course, the furnace fan, and that's taking non-trivial amounts of electricity as well, and can, you know, again, if you're not getting the sun because of the weather or shade or whatever, you know, that can put your batteries pretty flat pretty fast. Let's be honest about it. I think the other thing is, of course, in the summertime, the amount of heat that is generated, you know, in the RV. And remember, it's not just the air, it's the actual vehicle is warm, and you have to try to cool it down. That takes a fair amount of energy. The air conditioners, like I have, this one that I just put in is in the neighborhood of 1,500 watts. You know, for however long you're running the thing, and that's a lot of power. And you know, you'd have to have a hell of a bag of batteries to run that for any meaningful period of time. So I think that's always a challenge for us, is that, you know, if we're going to camp, we've got to either camp in weather where that's not an issue, or we have to camp in such a way that we have electricity, which is, one way to do it, or a dependable generator system. Now, my generator worked very well. It's a 3,300 watt inverter generator, and Ontario Parks policy is that you can't make excessive noise. But I was very fortunate at this campsite because there was a fair amount of space between my site and the neighboring sites. In addition, certainly through the week, most of them were unoccupied. So there was really nobody within a couple hundred feet in some cases. I have a sound meter on my phone, which is, at least has some information. I don't know how accurate, certainly not commercially precise or anything. But when I used eco mode, and all I was doing was charging the batteries, I found that the level, say 50 feet from the generator was around 50. I was very, very impressed. Even in some cases, depending on the side of the RV, you could hardly hear it. And so that was really good. Now, my doghouse is not really soundproofed. It's more of a weatherproofing device to keep water off it. So when it's on the back of the Jeep, that, with road wash and so forth, the generator doesn't get too wet. The bottom is open deliberately so that we have some airflow, otherwise the thing will overheat. Yesterday I ran the air conditioner a little bit to try and cut the humidity, just as an experiment, and the generator was able to push it. It is fine. It seems that the only reason that my generator will trip on this air conditioner is when it quick cycles and you've got the large difference in pressure, because it hasn't equalized yet between the two sides. I think that's where it's too much for it. But we get the soft start in there, that'll stop that. But nevertheless, it worked pretty well, but it is a lot louder. When I checked the levels, I would say running the generator, pushing the air conditioning, was probably another 4 or 5 dB, of course, which is a fairly significant number. It's probably in the neighborhood of 3 times as loud, maybe a little more than that. So, when I was standing across the other sites, it was giving 55 or 56 dB instead of 51 or 52, that type of thing. And that's, it just isn't practical in a campground. I mean, even if you have a non-powered campsite and you've got someone 50 feet away, I mean, you can't run your generator. You just can't do it. So that's just not going to happen. I also find too, I think that this trip and others have taught me too that, you have to have a certain sense of confidence, a certain sense of peace of mind when you're doing this, that you can enjoy it. I don't really get that staying at truck stops and Walmarts and things like that with this big unit. I guess if I was doing a truck camper thing, maybe I'd feel different about it, but not this way. So anyhow, I like the idea of doing the campground thing and pulling in, and if you're just doing a stop for one night, you have some kind of a pull through. You don't have to disconnect, and you can plug in even with 30, and you've got what you can depend upon. I think I like that, and I think that is the way I want to do it. If I have a newer RV, again, it's a new vehicle. You're going to hope that everything works, and when you push the button, that the things actually do what they're supposed to. certainly some of the workarounds that I have right now would disappear. So for a trip like this one, I mean, we'd still be towing. I'm thinking of replacing the tow bar with just a straight square tube fit so that it's less complicated down the road. The generator casing and all the rest of the back would be gone, so you wouldn't have that. So we could potentially put the bicycle back there if you wanted to, or something else. I could keep the pan and put something there, I guess. And inside the RV too, you know, again, depending on the floor plan, but maybe not the fireplace. And it just seems like there's still a lot of work, I guess you could say, with some of this, that you would like to hope that, you know, with things built in a little bit more, that there'd be less of that. But that's hard to say. I don't know. But today, for example, coming back, I heard a thump, and I wasn't sure what that was when I found that the shoes had fallen into the doorstep. So, you know, that's the best possible answer there. The air conditioning quit, and that was just the generator overloading. So when I took it off eco mode, it ran fine. So these are the kinds of operational issues that you want, instead of it being some kind of a failure or whatever. I have the awning on the right side. There's areas there that are getting damaged because of the leaks. So I'm going to have to, it's right now held with lag bolts. They're not holding much anymore. So I'm going to have to drill through and put a bolt and a plate in that one to hold it on properly. But that, I'm hoping, it should be fine. It's still being held to some extent by the top part as well. But that's, you know, straightforward enough, I think. I was very pleased. I did sort of a little bit of an effort with the boondocking. Again, I think too, the better you sleep, you know, and even with the bed too, just the whole idea of how you sleep, I think, has to be a factor. And if you really work at that, and that's the sleep comfort in the bed, but also the climate and everything else, I think that the rest of it's more fun. And you just have to figure it out, and everyone's different. The bed, I put a 3-inch foam on top of it to make it softer, but the foam's too big, and that has to be trimmed. Nadine also put some extra blankets on top. I think I'm just going to get some more foam and make it even thicker, maybe another 1.5 inches or something of that thermal stuff that they have, and then set it up so the sheets cover it. Even if I have to get a new set or whatever, I don't really care. But the point is that I want it to be no wider than the mattress, so you can get around it. It's not constantly being moved in the night when you roll around or whatever. So certainly trying to fix that one. But back to the boondocking thing, I was pleased. This is the first time where I deliberately did the dishes in the wash tub and poured the effluent into the washroom sink, which is Grey Tank 1, which is good for about 65 liters. And it never overflowed. And I think I did 7 dishes with that one. And then the kitchen Grey Tank, which is good for supposedly 110 or 120 liters, which seems to overflow around 90 for some reason, which we can't figure out. It is, I think I did 7 showers, and then the rinsing of the dishes, so the incidental water like that. I also, and it did not overflow either, which was great. So I never needed the auxiliary grey water tank, although I was tempted to use it. I'm on 11. I'm supposed to get off here somewhere. Yeah, that's right. It's coming. Sorry. So that worked great. The freshwater tank I had filled, and I had a leak in the fittings, and just the head pressure was causing a drip leak. And I fixed the threads just with Teflon tape. It wasn't no difficulty. I had 2 leaks there, so that was what surprised me. But it was amazing when I filled it at Earl Row how much water it took. So the leak was significant in the month, I guess, roughly from the time I came back from trip 203 at Diane's to this one. I probably lost 30 or 40 liters of water just dribbling on the ground. So that's fixed now. So that was a good thing, I think. So there's some little things like that. And so I'm just really I think the main thing is just, make sure that you have the power, that you can create the environment. Don't disrespect that. You need it. It's part of the objective, just no different than gasoline for the tank. And if you can't get that, then stay home or do something else or go somewhere else, because it does make it hard to do the rest. Like I've had 2 nights now where I had 2 great sleeps, and then the last 2 nights have been really tough because of the humidity. And so it's a learning experience, and I think that was a good thing. And you begin to know better what works and what doesn't. And I know Nadine is no fan of the humidity at night either, and as many people aren't. And so this allows us to know. And again, I think the humidity in the RV is worse than it is outside. I think the airflow, whatever the calculus is of that. And you can have your fantastic fans, but the problem is if you have one of those hoods over it, which is fine, I think you can draw the air in quite effectively. But going out, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think it's mitigated quite significantly. So anyhow, knock on wood, we're at Rishago now, so we've got another hour and a little bit to go, and the weather is perking up a bit. As you can see, I have the sunglasses on right now, and so I'm just going to go through town here and follow the roads and get back home again and see what's next. So I'm just coming around the corner here north of Keswick. Joining now from Baseline to Woodbine Avenue, and get a little bit better light there. That's more like it. And so Nadine's going to try and take a bit of side footage of the RV, which you don't get very often. Hopefully that'll work. And trying to find smooth roads in our area. These roads get beat up so much by the trucks and the winter and so on. I don't know, but I stopped using Raven Shoe because it's pretty rough, and this one the resurface has been scraped right off it, so I don't know. Anyhow, I've had a good drive back. I've been about it says 4:28, but I think I started it about 10 minutes late. That includes the break, so that's pretty good. It's about 300 and just 293k. So to do that in 4:45 with us, certainly half an hour, so more like 4-ish or so, is pretty good for a vehicle like this. I don't drive very fast on the big roads. I'm only going 90, 91, 92. I don't go any faster. And on the other ones, I'm going 80 or less if they're rough or it's curvy or something like that, or there's hills. So you probably don't want to be behind me, but that's how it is. You don't pay for the vehicle either, so I have to protect it as best I can. But anyhow, so we're going to try that, and then this trip will be over. But it's been a wonderful last hour. The lighting and the weather has been amazing. And I got off of 11 at Washago, outside of Washago, then going south on 169. It almost felt like a new road. I couldn't get over the scenes just with the wind and stuff, and how green the trees are right now and all the rest of it. It was just beautiful, and I really enjoyed that. And as well, just coming down back home, the roads are flatter and it's just more familiar. It's just a little easier, so which was nice. So really have had a nice last hour or so to this, and hopefully we'll end it up right. We've got just a couple of defects that I know of right now. We have to fix the awning mounting, which is rotted away a little bit, so that's one item. And there was something else that I just, of course, have forgotten again. I don't know. But generally speaking, it went pretty well this trip. So I was pretty pleased with the water conservation and so forth. Now, obviously, if we have 2 people, it won't last the 7 or 8 days, but still, we did pretty well, I think. Won't be that long. Okay, so we got back here to Keswick, and what we've noticed, as you can see, is the arm, right arm on this tow hitch is bent, and that's the end of the tow hitch, and we'll have to get another one. I looked at Swishley. It looked straight to me then, as far as I could tell. I may have missed it. So this seems to be a failure, a stress failure on the road, from what I can tell. It seemed like the Jeep was moving a little bit. It was shimmying a little bit on the road, so it's hard to say. And it may have failed earlier, I don't know. But there was that one jerky thing when I was driving, but we've had those before. But anyhow, thankfully we got home okay, without any problems, but it's just regrettable.